Hi, this is Simon Candy from AcousticGuitarLessonsOnline.net, and in today's video you're going to learn how to play fast on guitar. Now, general wisdom would have you believe that the way to play fast on guitar is to begin very slowly and gradually increase the speed as you go to play faster and faster. And while in part that is true, there is much more to it than that. In this lesson, I'm joined by guitar practice expert Mike Philippov from PracticeGuitarNow.com to discuss and demonstrate the skills, the strategies and methods needed to play fast on guitar. Mike is the go-to guy for all things practicing guitar. He's helped hundreds, if not thousands of people really accelerate their progress through his practicing methods and strategies. And as far as speed is concerned, Mike is very, very fast guitar player, shredding. Now, this is not necessarily about shredding. So if you want to be able to improve your speed just a little bit, this video is really going to help. Mike is going to run you through the mechanics necessary to be able to improve your speed on guitar, including the importance of efficient hand movement, both the fretting and picking hands. Also, how to, or what rather, to focus on specifically when you are training to play fast, and why increasing the speed gradually, bit by bit, is not the only thing you need to be doing to get faster, and what you need to do in addition to that. So let's get to it. Will we just get straight into it, or is there something
we can just dive right in. And I actually like something you said a moment ago. You said practicing is something we can get better at as a skill. And that is actually a very, very important point that I want all students of mine to get. And I know we've talked about this, many times in the past, is that practicing is just its own skill, just like learning to fingerpick, learning your fretboard, or learning anything else. It's something most people don't have come naturally to them. They have to learn this either through trial and error or having somebody explain it to them. So very good point you made there.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been playing for 30 odd years, 33 years, I think, coming up 34. And I would say it wasn't really until about 20 years in that I really learned what practicing was about. I mean, it's more than just picking up your guitar and playing through stuff. Obviously, that you're sort of doing that, but there's so much more to it, and so much more you can get out of a single session. So yeah, that was a really profound moment for me when I sort of realized the practice was going to really take practice in itself.
First, what I want to talk about is separating movements from notes. And this is kind of a foreign topic to many guitar players who are not familiar with a lot of nuanced practicing ideas, especially because when we get into playing guitar, what draws us into playing is the music and the sounds that we want to produce when we play guitar. But sort of the danger in that is if you are only focused on, let's say you got a lick or a passage in a song that you are trying to refine, if all you're focusing on is the sound being either the way you want it to be or not being the way you want it to be, it's easy to forget the engine or the mechanism that produces those sounds, which is what the hands are doing. And when I said it just now, I'm sure it sounds completely obvious and common sense. It's like, well, duh, everybody knows that. But not everybody, unfortunately, practices the way as if they know it. So to give you a little example, let's just take, now I know, Simon, you obviously have both the acoustic players here and I'm from the electric guitar world, but 99% of what I'm going to talk about applies to whether it's electric or acoustic, it's all the same. Let's say we've got just a simple C major scale. And if you only focus on the sound of the notes, and at this tempo, which isn't particularly fast, you can get away with a lot of inefficiencies. Like, for example, you can play the scale with the pick moving like this away from the strings, making these huge motions, or the fingers flailing about like that. And the notes will sound kind of okay, but there's going to be a ceiling to how easily you can speed this up or how easily you can combine this scale with other ideas, with chords or what have you. And so when you're focusing on anything that you're trying to refine, it's important to pay attention to each hand at a time and look at the movements that each hand is making and figure out as best as you can, what are those movements? What are the most efficient movements you can make to produce those notes? And then practice to make sure that repetition in, repetition out, you're doing those motions consistently, and training those into your muscle memory, because that is what's going to make your progress jump. And that's a much more time efficient way of practicing, as opposed to simply just focusing on the sound of the notes or just repeating something over and over. I find that once people start practicing like this, they're able to shrink the amount of time that it takes to see noticeable gains in their practicing. So, Simon, what about you in your case? Can you think of any examples where a mindset like that has been helpful to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the efficiency thing is huge. I find you start practicing something, say, from ground zero, just from the beginning, and there's a lot you can improve on initially, but there's always that sort of ceiling you hit, and you sort of grind to a halt, and you wonder how, and you might not be where you want, where you're, the speed of something or the fluency of something. And so the efficiency thing is huge. And I always very much promote working with the efficiency of your picking hand, your fretting hand, finger picking, whatever you might be doing. And to do that, you've got to be playing very, 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 very slowly. Otherwise, you're just going to make the same sort of hand movements that you're used to doing. So slowly, meaning, if we're playing a C major scale, this kind of slow, where I'm really focused on my fingers, nice and relaxed, making minimal movements. I don't care about how far I'm really making sure I go slow. The result will take care of itself if I focus on that and relax my hand. Even just relaxing my hand automatically will give me more efficient movements with my fingers. But it's one of these things that it's not like turning a light on and off. It's something that you refine. So you've got to be patient, but a couple of minutes focusing on this is huge. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of focus, so it's not something you might sit there for 10 minutes, but a couple of minutes at a time is great. So I really like the efficiency thing for sure, and
Yes.
digging deeper in those areas.
And actually, it's funny you mentioned the slow practice thing. Is one of my points on the list, but might as well just talk about this now.
Yeah,
And that is, many people are confused by this idea of practicing slow, because it's a very abstract thing. It's like, okay, how slow is slow? How fast is fast? It can mean a billion different things. And I actually have a way to find out the ideal tempo, because sometimes what you just demonstrated, the super like really, really super slow, like a few seconds per note slow, that is very often what somebody with a lot of bad habits might have to actually do to practice that slow. But sometimes practicing that slowly can also be counterproductive, and I'm sure you know that, Simon. And because once you are certain mistakes, certain problems in your playing, they don't show up until you exceed a certain tempo threshold. So you have to kind of be practicing fast enough for the problem to even show up, and for you to be able to focus on it and to be challenged by it. If you practice too slowly, so like I said, the problem doesn't show up. So you're, in a sense, wasting time. Not actually in a sense, you're actually wasting time. So the way I think about how to know the ideal tempo to practice at, going back to the point I made about separating the movements from the notes, is you need to set a goal for yourself, or an objective for how the notes should sound, how the hands should move, how everything should feel. So everything in the sense of timing, the notes, if you're playing with the metronome, how they're supposed to be locking in, which notes should be accented, how should the articulation be. You kind of have to know that before you play anything. And then you want to find the fastest tempo where you can do all that. And that may sound like I just said, well, you just slow down until you can do it. But that's not really what I said. It's a much more nuanced thing than just slowing down until you can do it. You need to have a clear picture in your mind of how the hands should move, and how in your ear, how the notes should sound, and make sure the tempo you find isn't too slow and also isn't too fast, that you can actually do it. It takes a bit of trial and error to find the tempo, but once you find that threshold, that is exactly where you need to be. And it's going to vary not only from person to person, but also from the exact problem you're dealing with. If it's some deeply rooted bad habit, you're going to have to really slow down. Or if it's just a set of movements or notes that are new to you, and you have good technique already, you don't necessarily have to play quarter notes at 40 or anything. You just need to slow down enough to where you can get the right sounds out. And then from that foundation, then you can speed up. So the fastest tempo, perfect playing, as opposed to just slow practice. That's my tip there.
Yeah, that's great. And that, I think that's something I actually learned from you was quite a few years ago about the, always playing slow is not necessarily going to be the best thing. It certainly is a lot of the time, but it depends what the objective is, and you can't know what needs work if you don't kind of push it, right? Is more or less. So you kind of got to play, because not everything's going to be equal. Some things you'll nail at whatever tempo or speed, but there'll be one note or a couple of fingers or something that aren't quite there. So okay, I need to really, it's okay to do that, to see that, and then work on those particular areas rather than just as a whole trying to get something up and going. If you like this video, then you'll love this ebook audio from my Jazz Concepts for Acoustic Guitar series titled Arpeggios. In this ebook, you will learn exactly what arpeggios are, how to visualize them on the fretboard, and several ways to use them in your guitar playing. I will run you through 3 key major arpeggio shapes and 3 key minor arpeggio shapes, and how each of these relate to each other on the fretboard so you can easily access them in your playing. Not only will you learn the conventional way of applying arpeggios to your guitar playing, but I will also show you how to instantly multiply your soloing possibilities with each arpeggio shape through arpeggio superimposition. This sounds complicated, but it's super simple. I will not only show you how all this stuff works on the fretboard, but also explain it to you so you can understand the theory behind it all. So click the link in the description below this video and download your free ebook audio, Jazz Concepts for Acoustic Guitar Arpeggios. You'll have it in your inbox within minutes. Let me know in the comments what acoustic guitar topics you'd like to see covered in future videos. A lot of the things I do cover are suggested by you, so don't be shy, drop us a line in the comments below and I will check it out. If you like this video, then hit the like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and of course hit the all important notification bell button so YouTube can tell you when I've released a new video. This is Simon Candy from acousticguitarlessonsonline.net. As always, I really do appreciate you taking the time to check out my videos. I hope you have enjoyed this one, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next video.